Hi guys, it's Sybil, and a few months ago I posted a video on my YouTube channel titled How I Scored 117 out of 120 on the new TOEFL IBT test. And a lot of you guys found that video really helpful and left a lot of supportive comments, which really truly encouraged me to make more TOEFL related content. And so here is the first of many. Today I'm going to be tackling how to score 30 out of 30 on the TOEFL speaking section. Now, this video is kind of a follow-up to my last video, so if you haven't watched that video yet, I'm going to be leaving it down in the description box below and also tagging it in the cards. So I highly recommend you guys watch that video before watching this one. In that video, I just give an overview of the whole TOEFL test and my creme de la creme tips on each section in the TOEFL exam. So highly recommend you guys watch that video first. I don't want to ramble on any longer, and I want to start out this video by giving you guys some of my general guidelines when I'm doing the TOEFL speaking section. So my first guideline is use templates, and if you've watched my last video, you will know I continuously stress this. I am a firm believer in the usage of templates. This includes note-taking templates as well as speaking templates, and I'm going to persuade you and tell you why. The first reason is it saves you a lot of time, and this is really important, especially when you're taking a test like the TOEFL exam, since you're constantly battling against the timer. The second reason is because a lot of us have a ton of bright and brilliant ideas and thoughts that we want to incorporate into our speaking response. But because these thoughts are all scattered around, we have a hard time linking them together. And using a template helps you combat this problem. It helps you link all of your ideas into one cohesive, structured answer, which is another reason why using a template is crucial. Last but not least, using a template really helps you remain steady and calm when you're doing the TOEFL exam. Using templates and just following a well-formulated blueprint allowed me to just take a deep breath and be more certain about my answers. So using templates can definitely help you out when you're feeling those test jitters. And now we have the second guideline, which is you cannot have output if you don't have any input. And this is a rule that applies to many realms in life and also the TOEFL test as well. A lot of us set aside time every single day to practice the TOEFL speaking section, and we sit down and expect ourselves to deliver top-notch, well-formulated, clear English responses when we are not taking time every day to soak in new vocabulary, new sentence formats, and new ways of delivering our message. So how can we improve if we don't constantly give ourselves more input? This is why I highly suggest you guys take time every day to consume some English media, read some English novels, talk to your friends, or talk to yourself in English, so you're constantly surrounded in an English speaking environment before the test. By exposing yourself to more English materials, you will find that you're gonna pick up some new words, some new sentences you can use in your responses, which will help elevate your answers greatly. Studying English is not some risky stock investment. If you're willing to put in time and effort to study the subject, you will reap what you sow. Your hard work will be returned. So make sure that you stay persistent and just try to expose yourself to more English materials. So now that we've covered the general guidelines, I'm going to move on to the creme de la creme, which is the templates I use to score a 30 out of 30 on the TOEFL speaking section. Now, please keep in mind that every individual is unique. We all have different preferences, different thought processes, so my template might not be the best fit for you, but you can definitely make tweaks to them so they are more suitable for you, or find another one on the internet that is to your liking. Just make sure it helps with the delivery of your response and stick to that solid template. So in this video, I'm going to be using task 1 as an example to show you guys how I answer the TOEFL speaking questions. And if you guys want a step-by-step guide on task 2, 3, and 4, definitely leave comments down below so that I know and can make another video tackling those questions as well. And with that said, let's move on to the note-taking template and speaking template for task 1. As most of you guys know, task 1 is a personal choice question. And the question we're going to be using today is, some people enjoy taking risks and trying new things. Others are not adventurous, they are cautious and prefer to avoid danger. Which behavior do you think is better? So when I'm note-taking for question 1, the first thing I always do is write my personal choice or opinion on the first line of my sheet of paper in less than 3 words. I like to make it concise and put it right there on top because this is essentially my answer to this entire question. Later on, all of the reasons I'm gonna give and examples I'm gonna give are all just supporting details to this one key main idea. And so this is what my notes will normally look like. So as you can see at the very top of my notes, I've written down my choice, which in this case is I prefer taking risks and trying new things. After that, I'll write down reason 1, indent example 1, and reason 2, indent example 2. So when I'm answering task 1, I always like to include 2 reasons along with 2 examples. Now, that might seem like a lot of information to cram into a 45-second response, but your answer does not have to be very elaborate. Even if your reasons and examples are only 1 sentence each, they just have to make sense and support the answer that you're giving in your response. So in this case, my first reason as to why it's important to try new things is you only live once, and so you want to live a life with no regret. You can see how I concise this idea into merely 3 words, YOLO and no regret. That is always an important thing to do when you're note-taking. Make sure you abbreviate your words and concise your words so that you don't have to spend so much time taking notes. Moving on, I gave an example as to why I think it's important to live a life with no regret. And the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this was bungee jumping. Now, have I ever been bungee jumping? No. Have any of my friends and relatives been bungee jumping? Absolutely not. So why did I write that down as my example? Well, it just happened that the day before I did this exam, I was watching a video of an idol who was actually participating in a bungee jumping event. So the first thing that came to my mind was bungee jumping. A lot of people struggle to come up with good examples when they're answering the TOEFL speaking questions, and so do I. But what I like to do is think out of the box to the media I've been exposed to in the past week. And if I think of something that ties back to this main idea, even if it's bizarre, even if it's untrue, I will write it down and try to link it back to my answer. So in this case, my example became, my aunt once went to New Zealand with her friends, and all of her friends decided to go bungee jumping, but she did not participate because she wanted to avoid danger and thought that it was too risky of an option. But once she came back to her home country, she absolutely regretted not participating, which is why I believe it's important to live a life with no regret by taking risks. So this was absolutely made up, and although it's absolutely untrue, it is an example that supports my reason and ties back to my answer. So that is how I come up with examples when I'm doing the TOEFL speaking section. Moving on, we have my second reason, which is taking risks and trying new things can help you learn and grow. So I concise that idea by just writing learn plus grow. And at the bottom, I made an indent and wrote TA. So TA is an abbreviation for teaching assistant. And it just so happened that last semester, I became the teaching assistant for my professor. So that is the first example that came to mind when I was thinking about what could show how taking risks and trying new things can help you learn and grow. So my explanation for this example was, last semester my professor offered me a job as his teaching assistant, and I was really reluctant to take the offer since I felt like I had too much on my plate. But eventually I decided to try something new and took the job, which was the best decision of my life since it allowed me to learn and grow as a student and also refine my problem-solving abilities. As you can see from example 1 and example 2, there are 2 ways for me to think of a good example. The first one is to think out of the box. Find inspiration in your day-to-day life and incorporate that into your answer, and just make sure it supports your response. The other type of example I like to give is based on real life situations, things that actually happened to me, and I just explain them as they happen. Both of these methods are very effective, so do not worry, do not fret if you cannot think of a real example. Just find some inspiration elsewhere, and I promise you will be able to form just as good of an example and an answer. Now that we've covered how I write my notes, we can make 2 key observations. The first one is that I have a set structure. So as you can see from my notes, I always write my choice at the very first line so that it's clear to my eyes that this is the main idea I'm trying to support. Then I follow up with reason 1 and indent an example 1. I always make sure to indent my example under my reason so that I can remind myself that the example is just a supporting detail that should tie back to this one big reason. This prevents me from going off topic and rambling on when I only have 45 seconds to get my point across. So as you can see below, same logic. I write reason 2, indent, and then example 2. So the key takeaway here is when you're using a note-taking template, always make sure it has a set structure. So that way, when you read back on your notes, you know your logic and you know what your notes meant. Taking notes for the TOEFL speaking section should be helping you and aiding you instead of harming you. So make sure that when you write your notes, it's not a mess, you're not writing words everywhere, and when you go back to look at them, you have no idea what you are writing about. So always keep that in mind. The second observation we can make is that I constantly abbreviate and simplify my words. As we've mentioned before, when you're taking the TOEFL test, you are on a time crunch. So it is crucial for you to save as much time as possible to rethink your answer and construct a better response. Now, when you look at my notes, you can see that I try to be as concise as possible. Please don't confuse the speaking section to the note-taking section, because a lot of us just continue to jot down paragraphs of notes during the speaking section. We almost lose track of forming a good speaking response. So make sure that when you're writing things down, it is just to remind yourself of what you're about to say. Your main goal is still to be formulating a good speaking response, because no one is going to be grading you on your notes. Next, we're going to be talking about my speaking template. Now, once you have a really good and solid note-taking template down, developing a speaking template is so easy. So this is my speaking template. When I begin giving my speaking response, I always like to start off with a variation of I believe that or I think that to present my choice. Then I will add a sentence such as I feel this way for the following reasons to show the graders that I'm about to transition into giving my reasons and examples. Afterwards, it is just a breeze. I bring out my reasons with transition words such as first of all, and then my reason. And for examples, I use for instance, for example, etc. So as you can see, my speaking template is literally just filled with a bunch of transitional words and also parentheses where I will fill in my answer. And now on the screen, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like after I filled in the contents of my answer into the parentheses. So the key observation we can make here is that transitional words and sentences are crucial in a speaking template. When you're taking your notes, you're already writing down the contents of your response. And all that's left is just to link these ideas together so that when you deliver your message, it sounds like one entire story, one entire answer instead of just scattered ideas. So make sure you incorporate a bunch of transitional words that link ideas together in your template. I'm going to be linking some resources down below, lists of transitional words you can use in your responses so that it sounds more cohesive and well structured. So now that we've covered the general guidelines as well as the note-taking and speaking templates, the last thing we're going to talk about today is refining your delivery. A lot of us get tempted to do back-to-back speaking practice tests up till the actual TOEFL exam. And of course, practice is always a good thing, but it's just as important to go back and review your previous performances so that you can improve when you do your next practice test. When you're delivering your speaking response, make sure you sound confident. Make sure you have good intonation as well as clear diction. These are all things that the graders are going to look for when they listen back to your speaking response. I highly recommend you guys record yourself when you're doing the speaking practice tests and play them back to see where you're lacking so you can improve on that specific aspect before moving on and doing your next practice test. And if you guys have a hard time pinpointing what it is you can improve, I recommend you guys go on YouTube, search up some TED Talks, speeches, and just watch how the speaker delivers their message. Learn from them and compare their performance to your own so you can see what you might be lacking or what you can add to further elevate your response. So that's going to be it for today's TOEFL video. I hope you guys found it helpful as always, and if you have any questions that I could answer, comment them down below and I will get back to you guys, or any video requests, anything you want to see on my channel, definitely leave them in the comments as well. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Last semester, I was really busy with university things, so after I uploaded the first TOEFL video, I didn't have time to film any more content. So if you guys watched my last TOEFL video and have already taken the TOEFL test, thank you so much for being supportive, and I hope you aced the test. And if you haven't taken your TOEFL exam yet, well, best of luck to you. I hope today you picked up some new tools and knowledge that will help you get a better grade on your TOEFL exam. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.